all the human beings. This is the Alfie Brown Show. And how are you, at whichever point you are listening to this in your day or night? What a week. What a week we had. I had. I don't know what sort of week you had. I couldn't presume to know, because you're all sorts of different people from all sorts of different places. Some of you might be in North Carolina. Some of you might be in South Carolina. And then there's loads of other states as well. And then loads of countries. The point is, you could be anywhere. But I hope what you endeavoured to do at the beginning of the week, you achieved by the end of it. I had some shows on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the Soho Theatre. And Jesus Christ, if they weren't so much better than I could possibly have expected, they went so much better than I possibly could have expected them to go. Than I reasonably could have expected them to go. I'm obviously scheduled to be on tour around the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland and Dublin in the springtime, February and March. And that's when I sort of thought I was going to do these shows as well. I would have a lot of time to prepare them after having sort of thrown together a bit of a work-in-progress stand-up comedy show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, what there was of that, 11 dates I did up there. And then suddenly I was in the Soho Theatre trying to get myself together, trying to write a show in time to do it, and I did, to an extent, and to a good extent. It was a show to possibly its fullest extent. It wasn't the perfect show, but it was certainly a show to its fullest extent. So I feel glad of myself. I hope you'll allow me that. You start doing this and you can hear your child start screaming downstairs. And that's the world we live in. And until I am a podcast with a Patreon large enough to furnish me with the sort of disgusting pelf that I see some of these American podcasts getting, the audio detritus of my child screaming downstairs is just going to be it's going to have to be something that you put up with. Now, also, there might be some people meeting me with a degree of judgment about the fact that I'm not going downstairs, am I? You might not even be able to hear the baby downstairs. I can hear the baby. It's distracting me. And you might be going, oh, he's not going downstairs to help. I've been instructed not to go downstairs and help. I've been instructed by my girlfriend, the mother of my child, the mother of the screaming child, no less, to stay up here and do a podcast. So, as an obedient boyfriend and podcaster, that's what I'm going to do. It's not that it's also what I want to do. I don't want to go down. I mean, I can't do anything for her down there. Can't do anything for the boy. The tragedy of being a father to a baby is that, whatever the child wants, it isn't me. So it was a wonderful week. If you came to any of the Soho shows, thank you so much. It was a fantastic week, and it only got better as the week wore on, with, of course, Saturday being a bit Saturday-y, but that's what you expect, isn't it? When everybody's had a full day's worth of opportunity to drink, the movement around the ideas in the old... Oh, there we go, the door's open, so we can all hear it kicking off now, can't we? We can all hear it kicking off. Shall I come downstairs? Welcome back, everybody. Do you know what? It turns out I was needed in the end. I needed to go and make a bottle for the baby who is sick. The baby is sick. I think perhaps it would be quicker to say and mention when the baby isn't sick. It seems to me that all babies are constantly sick and live in such a consistent state of perpetual sickness that perhaps it would be more of a newsworthy conversation piece if you were to say, "Oh, the baby's not sick at the moment." "Ooh, really? What do you mean no mottled skin?" Or sort of there's no viral rash to speak of, or no anxiety-inducing temperature for you to contend with, or no sort of no force-feeding Calpol that sort of incurs the guilt of having to kind of physically dominate your much smaller than you child into the swallowing of an unwanted substance in one of life's great fucks. No, none of that's happening. Oh, wow. Well, that's something interesting that you've just said. That's a new bit of information that I didn't, that I would not have presumed upon, given how stiflingly rare it is that babies aren't sick. Anyway, I did have to go downstairs, and now in the break before, I can't really remember what I was saying, but I think I was saying that Jessie tells me to stay up here. She tells me to podcast, and actually, no, she shouted down, "Could you come down?" And now it feels like I falsified that information for you to make me seem like a more, not desirable, but kind of moral or upstanding father in the ears of the listener, the eyes of the viewer. I wasn't doing that. That is genuinely what she said. But if I do now have come across like a what a Martha Wainwright would call a bloody motherfucking asshole, then I can only apologise to you. It wasn't my intention. I want nothing here but to tell you the truth. Hey, do you remember 5 minutes ago? I did my Soho shows this week, and oh my good Christ, were they great fun. I think I was mentioning that before my podcast studio became a children's ward. But then, that's the nature of, this is the budget we're working at. So we're stuck with it. We're stuck with it for the time being. Thank you to everybody who came. I think I probably mentioned that. That's probably the thing that I would have wanted to mention straight off of any bats that I was wielding. I really appreciate it. And those of you that came up to me and said that you listened to the podcast, I really appreciated that, because obviously this talking into the ether is quite an anxiety, not anxiety-inducing, but just you don't know what's being taken well, what's being taken badly, what's being received well, what's entertaining to hear. Also, this doesn't have to be high quality crafted, 3 gags a minute, big old punchlines and belly laughs. This is, you listen to a podcast because you've decided you like someone or something and would like to hear more of it in a more relaxed and consistent way. And that's what we hope to provide here at the Alfie Brown Show, and a little bit of real gritty insight into my life. It's very nice, your Soho show, when you do your shows in Soho. Very usually, that's another thing I was saying, it comes after the Edinburgh Festival, whereas I didn't really have a proper Edinburgh this year. It was a sort of a last-minute work-in-progress type Edinburgh. And that made what was going on, just a little bit different, and it meant that I didn't have a finished show, which meant that I was going to the Soho, which is usually the place that you go, the Soho Theatre, I should say, usually the place that you go when you've done well in Edinburgh, and I was in the weird position of feeling like I was doing my victory lap without having won a race yet. Which it didn't actually make me feel like an imposter. Perhaps it should have done, but it did make me feel slightly ill at ease with the whole thing until it started going well halfway through the week. On the Wednesday night, I think it was the Thursday night, my dad came, and I was about to go outside with my friend Jimmy. My dad delivered me a pint, like a very good dad, and he went, "Oh, there's your pint. I'll be right back. I've just got to go and smack somebody in the face." And Jimmy sort of laughed it off and went, "Oh, that's a funny thing to say. I've just got to go and smack someone in the face." And I looked more alarmed. I, knowing my father and knowing the context in which those sort of things get said, that he was going to smack somebody in the face if we didn't intervene him, if we didn't intervene. And I went back over to the group of people that he was talking to, and lo and behold, there's this fucking geezer there who's like all wild-eyed, staring deep into the faces with an aggressive proximity that suggested he was about to possibly lamp somebody, possibly feel somebody up. And my dad is an experienced nutcase. He once caught people shoplifting in Safeway in King's Cross, where I was born. And rugby tackled the shoplifters into the frozen food section of the supermarket in which they were shoplifting. He chased a flasher through Barnes Common, had a knife pulled on him, and was saved at the last minute by the police. He was given the wanker sign by two boys we were driving past one afternoon with me and my friend Joseph in the back of the car, and he got out of the car and chased them away. So, and then those are just a few. Those are just off the top of my head what I can offer you in terms of examples of a man who isn't afraid to stand up for what he believes in. Yeah, we could say that. One lovely time, actually, and this is, I think, probably my favourite story. Me and my dad went to go and see Sunday in the Park with George, as well as an aggressive, teetering on violent sense of social justice that I've inherited from my father. I've also inherited a love of Stephen Sondheim musical theatre productions. And at this particular Stephen Sondheim musical theatre production, I think it was Daniel Evans and Jenna Russell in the two lead roles in Sunday in the Park with George. We had wonderful seats down in the stalls. Jenna Russell performed the character Northern, so we were all very endeared by the humorous quality that had lent to an otherwise quite stuffy role. And I didn't mean for that to sound as condescending as it did, but it did, and we can't help that now. I'm not a good enough editor to erase that, so you're just going to have to eat that shit. Sadly for you, soz about me. She was incredible in it, absolutely incredible. And at the end of the production, when she came to the front of the stage to give her bow, me and my father both, I don't think one was taking lead from the other. I can imagine I was probably taking lead from him, if anything, but it felt like a very natural thing to do, to give her a standing ovation for an absolutely astonishing performance. And she came to the front of the stage. We stood up, gave her a standing ovation, and then these two fingers go into my dad's belt, like hook onto my dad's belt, and yank him back towards his seat. A voice says, I can't see if you stand up, I'm afraid. I just can't see. So will you sit back down, please? And my dad turns his head around, in my memory, like 180 degrees, like an owl, and goes, I'm giving her a fucking standing ovation, you cunt. You what the fuck are you up to, telling me not to give her a standing ovation? You've never been in a theatre before, mate. Giving her a standing ovation. You don't understand that. Meet me outside afterwards, and I'll talk to you about it there. True. I don't think I've ever been more proud. I texted my brother excitedly afterwards going, Len, you'll never guess what. He fucking went for it this time. So yes, this man was at the Soho Theatre, didn't know what he was in for really, and it turned out later he'd been touching lots of girls on the waist and leering at them, aggressive to the men, and I suppose you could say aggressive to the women, albeit aggressive with the women in a fairly more lascivious way. Now, like, all of these stories, happen in the past, as all stories we tell do. What a fucking facile thing to say, Jesus Christ. And he was younger then, obviously, and was possibly, I was more young, more weak, more scared, I suppose. And I just didn't want to see my 65, mid-60s dad get smacked in the head. So I just sort of put my hand on this guy's shoulder and go, okay, come on, out we get now. Come on, out we go. Time for you to leave, mate. You're no good here, okay? And I was, doing a fairly good job of ushering him out, but he didn't really take too well to being touched on the shoulder by me. So then he started sort of waving his hands in a sort of mock judo / don't touch me kind of way. And I went, listen, mate, just get the fuck. And, we're doing that sort of quite feeble male physical standoff type thing, where I'm just trying to get him to leave and he's trying to say, don't touch me, because he doesn't want to be touched. He doesn't want to feel like he's being physically manhandled out of a venue. He wants, at least from a sensory perspective, with regards to touch, to feel like he is leaving of his own free will, of his own volition. And I'm not allowing him that illusion by touching him and making the whole thing seem forced. I imagine that's the psychological underpinnings to it. Sorry, I'm having a very nice wine with this podcast because, of course, after last night's Soho final night, I did end up with a bit of a hangover this morning. I'm in the middle of my standoff with this bloke. My dad comes like suddenly into view, rather heroically. In my brain, he's flying like through the air. I don't think that can possibly have been right, but shoves this guy in the spine, in his spine, and he goes barreling out through the double doors of the venue and out into the street, and actually almost into the road, which did make me worry. Fuck me, if he gets hit by a car now, Dad's going to get done for manslaughter. But I informed the Soho Theatre staff. They were very pleased that the bad man was gone. We were all able to get back on with our unlovely night. And that was that, But really good fun. The whole week was really good fun. But I think, the flirtation with violence, I think, was just one of the highlights. The crowd on Thursday was also fantastic, as it was on Friday and Saturday. It was really, really wonderful. I mean, it was wonderful every night, but these things hot up as the week wears on, don't they? I'm really, really, really happy with how it all went, and I apologise for drinking. I've got a lovely bottle of Jim Barry's Watervale Riesling 2021, and my friend Vaz was right. The Riesling grape is now a dry grape. I had no idea. So there we are. Just there we are. I had a few things I thought I would want to talk about today because, well, I didn't want to do too much investigation into any topics. I didn't want to do any deep dives or have to do too much reading. A, because I've been worrying about these Soho shows all week. And B, because I'm quite damaged today. And I have no idea when my son's about to wake back up and cause me to need to go downstairs again on bottle making duty. So excuse me if the itinerary here today isn't quite as exceptionally well researched as usual. It's never exceptionally well researched, but we're all here. We're all enjoying the Alfie Brown show. Some of us are enjoying doing it. That's me. and others might be enjoy listening it. Now I've got a few topics. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was breakup songs, just purely because I think it's my favourite type of song. It seems that particular type of tragedy is perfectly suited to the medium of singing songwriter, and the way in which this is done and addressed. I've seen breakup stand-up shows before, breakup stand-up comedy shows before, and always felt that they've never quite got the medium right, because I think that in a medium that perhaps has a little bit more cynicism that you'd like, or maybe that you are looking to undercut yourself, or perhaps just be self-aware enough that when addressing a breakup, what you sort of want to do is not... The comedy in a breakup isn't in the sad reflection of it. It's in the unpicking of details that and stories, and also a large amount of rather difficult and troubling self-excavation that causes you to analyse your own flaws in a way. Depending on what the story of the breakup is, the story of the breakup could be that she, robbed you and, slept with everybody that you loved and ruined your life and threw a saucepan at you. It could be that. It's usually not, but it could be. A lot of, comedians, for male breakup shows at least, will try and describe the other party as... Well, no, actually, all breakup shows... That's the thing. I'd really like to see a stand-up comedy breakup show about a breakup that was like, yeah, we just broke up and it's fine now. Actually, it's really sad, but it's for the best. I suppose those are the sort of things that don't get jokes written about them. The stand-up comedy shows is always quite tormenting, and they're always written by an unreliable narrator. Whereas I think with singer-songwriters, you don't get too taken away in the fact that you sort of feel like you need a judge and jury here to decide whether or not that person who's accusing the ex of such and such a violation, of course, in this age of diagnostic language, possibly victimhood, if that's not too strong a word. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's my podcast. Fuck you. That we reach for diagnostic language and sort of maybe legal terms to... I'm not saying, but lots of people are abusive. Lots of people are in abusive relationships. But also, when you're in a relationship with somebody who you don't like anymore, it can feel abusive, but it's not. They're just not, you don't like them anymore. You're having loads of arguments. And that's the other thing about almost all arguments in relationships are based on the idea that there's been a misunderstanding. So there's the way that you understand what's going on, there's the way that they understand what's going on, and these two perceptions of fairness and reality jar with one another. So of course, when somebody's trying to explain to you that the world might not be as you see it, it looks like they're trying to, you could say, using the modern lexicon, and it's something that I address in my show as well, that they're gaslighting you. But they're often not. They're just saying, I don't think that's the way that happened. But I think we're a more pig-headed and narcissistic generation of people nowadays. So it's possibly much harder to reckon with the idea, or we're not taught. I mean, wouldn't that be a useful lesson at school? Like self-awareness, like a little bit of doubt, and like the idea perhaps that it's surely more useful than maths to get taught at school, how you perceive the world. That might not actually be the world, because very often there's a chance that you might believe what it's in your interest to believe, because it's in your interest to believe it. So perhaps a retaliation against all the external factors that disrupt the way that you see things. That's not a healthy way to be. Perhaps a healthier way to be would be to be a little bit more investigative and conciliatory in these disputes. But hey, that's why I like breakup songs, is because they are laments on what went wrong. You're very... and also a story to be told. I suppose, I mean, I asked... It's something that me and my friend, brilliant comedian Josh Weller, speak about. And indeed, we have a lot of the same favourite breakup songs. And indeed, he did send me them when I put this out on Instagram earlier, at Alfie Brown Comedian. But I Want You by Elvis Costello is an interesting one, because now I'm thinking about it, it actually contradicts a lot of the things that I said about... It's actually a lot more like a breakup show, a stand-up breakup show, than it is a graceful and moving lament on lost love. It's angry, but the feelings of what it is to be heartbroken and the feelings of what it is to be cheated on in with respect to that song are so brilliantly put. And it's not really, as the listener, I don't think, when you okay, so here's I think what the difference would be is when you listen to a stand-up breakup show, what you're hearing is a direct party tell you about something that happened. You are encouraged to make judgments based on direct realities, the characters in the story of whom you're being confronted with in a much more lucid way than I think you are. I mean, obviously, than you are with the songwriter. Obviously, Elvis Costello did get cheated on, and that's why he wrote the song, and that was somebody real, and maybe he's an unreliable narrator. Maybe, the fact that he got cheated on, whether or not it's right, maybe he was a dick to be with. So that's what I always think about people who, end up getting cheated on. It's like, oh no, they cheated on you. Well, yeah, maybe you were appalling company, and maybe it was like, maybe they felt trapped. I mean, I'm just saying it's not always as simple as there's a good person and a bad person. Maybe you were an incredible drag. And I mean, also, when I've been cheated on, maybe it's been, I don't think it has. And I also think that a lot of the circumstances and most of the ones that I can bring into my mind right now are unfortunate, but and do incur judgment. I mean, on me when I cheated as a young 20-year-old, I certainly feel like I was the one who was to blame. The feelings of being of cheating in Elvis Costello's "I Want You." I want. Did he call your name out? Did you call his name out as he held you down? No, no, my darling, not with that clown. I want to know the things I want. It's got this like repeating motif all the way through. I want you. You've had your fun, you don't get well no more. I want you. And the fact that he keeps on repeating, I want you, and then giving you another, and actually it's quite comedic in the way that it observes so well the condition of this mad, betrayed jealousy that you feel, because you're so angry and so hurt and so devastated. I want to know the things you did that we do too. I want you. I want to know he pleases you more than I do. All of it is so incredibly visceral, but at the same time as making all these like attacks on her and attacks on him, and begging her to just tell Elvis Costello what they did. There's always the repetition of "I want you" that underpins everything. No one who wants you could want you more. I want you. It's knowing that he knows you now after only guessing. It's the thought of him undressing you or you undressing. It's absolutely. I mean, the imagery of it and the way in which it's so visceral. It's so incredibly real. And I think it's the combination. If you saw a stand-up making these sorts of observations, because it would represent a loss of control. But because everything is so controlled, because it's been written, because it has melody, because it has structure, because it has like a house, and all of these ideas live somewhere. So the chaos and the heart-rending emotion and the explosion of the whole experience as an emotional phenomenon feels very... It still is controlled within the song. I urge you to listen to it. My other favourite one would be Wilco, At Least That's What You Said, which only has a verse in it, lyrically. When I sat down on the bed next to you, you started to cry. I said, maybe if you need... I'd say, I need you, you want me to stay, or something like that. I can't remember what the lyric is. But the guitar solo that lasts a good 4 or 5 minutes, and the guitar solo is incredible because it's like... It's two guitars having an argument with each other, pining with each other for the other to understand. And the way in which they get the guitars to communicate like people having an argument, it almost sounds ridiculous that I say it out loud, but believe me, if you haven't heard the song, I don't know how they've done it. I don't know how they've humanized the sound of this guitar solo to quite such an extent that it sounds so incredibly evocative of one of these pleading and desperate arguments at the end of a relationship. It's absolutely incredible. Josh's other shout was Nick Lowe's I Read a Lot, which I think is a really good shout. And I quite like Martha by Tom Waits and The Grand Affair by Ralph McTell, although they're both kind of laments on old relationships rather than breakup songs explicitly. Probably the best breakup song ever and the best vocal performance is Bonnie Raitt's I Can't Make You Love Me. Oh, pardon me. I can't make you love me if you don't. I can't make your heart feel something it won't. Simple, but beautiful and... pretty, yes, to have something put originally and simply, evocatively and uniquely and in a non-complex and resonant way, and with a obviously beautiful melody when it's got a beautiful, beautiful voice. It just doesn't really get any better than that. So, I don't know. Any favourite breakup songs that you've got and why? Send me them and we'll create a playlist. The Alfie Brown Show playlist of best breakup songs of all time. I don't care how you get them to me, but obviously there's YouTube, there's Instagram, whatever you want, whatever you like. Aye. And now, on to the things that I was that it was desired that I speak about. The first one, I have to say to you, is not something that I was familiar with before. I got sent this message by my wonderful friend Mia, who's a lovely person who I met in Lisbon. Really, really cool. She wanted to know about breadcrumbing, which... Actually, when the message popped up on Instagram, I thought that was the end of the message because it sort of came up in a preview, and I thought what she wanted to know was about, what I felt about like kind of breaded chicken or fish, breaded anything, goujons basically. And I mean, I don't eat meat, but I'm very pro goujon. I'm essentially quite pro goujon. Could eat a tofu goujon, I guess. I might make tofu goujons. Anyway, breadcrumbing's not that. So what I had to do is I had to go onto YouTube, where I am. If you're watching this, if you're listening to it, that's where I'm also on YouTube. You can watch this on YouTube if you'd like, if you're not doing that. If you're out and about, then don't worry about it. A guy called Ryan Patrick. oh my God, I'm Ryan Patrick and I'm on YouTube, okay? So, hi girls. Basically, what we're going to do today is we're going to go through 10 things that guys who might be breadcrumbing you, leaving little breadcrumbs for you, okay? We're going to examine their habits, okay? And I don't like to make value judgments too quickly over a 10-minute video, but I think there's every chance that he might be a very dreadful person. He runs a website called boyfriendblueprint.com, where he tells you how you can text to better maintain your relationships with men, to better maintain your relationships via text, what to do if he's ghosting you. Girl, you need to, buy my little booklet on how to text a man. And he's turning your insecurity into an industry, as has so famously and persistently been done to women throughout the annals of history. We can commodify anybody's insecurity. It's quite an easy thing to aim at. Lots of people they've commodified my insecurity about my body and also my productivity, like my lack of. It's quite easy to get me to buy something if you promise me that it'll make me more proactive or healthier or thinner, but at the same time still allow me to drink this Jim Barry Watervale Riesling 2021. Then he lists these things that are good ways to let you know if a man is breadcrumbing you. He'll use a generic nickname, baby or beautiful. If he's using a generic nickname to refer to you, he doesn't really care enough to remember your name or come up with a fun individual nickname that might be cool. Like, if he was calling you the Goose or, my little panda person, then that he shows he's really gotten to know you. But the fact that he's calling you baby or beautiful, I think this is quite a good impression. It might feel like it's quite offensive to him or people that sound like him. I just have to assure you that as somebody who's got a website called boyfriendblueprint.com, who is charging you to pay him to teach you how to text, I don't care. He'll use a generic nickname. He'll be hot and cold. He could come on really strong at one moment and then be distracted. I just think this is all like, and this is the problem. And this is, I think, why we need star signs, is because without star signs, you get like generic bullshit like this, like people just trying to make up rubbish about he'll ghost you whilst liking your social media. Well, he might be like, it's easier to like and then respond, and it's difficult. It's not always fucking easy, is it? Like, he'll imply he wants a relationship. We should get married. Our kids would be so beautiful. But then whenever it comes to a conversation about the relationship, he'll put it on the back burner. He only wants sex. He sends good morning and good night texts. I mean, that's more than I would do. That's much more than I would do. I mean, obviously, I think, obviously, to be breadcrumbed sounds pretty bad. It sounds like one of those things that's just a bit shit that we have to. I think now we've given it. Just the guy's a dick. What was wrong with the guy's a dick? I don't understand. Like, obviously, it's not nice to be texting a guy or a girl who is going, "Oh yeah, I think we're great. I'm interested in you." "Oh really? Should we get together?" "No." "Oh, okay." And then they text you a little bit afterwards. "Hey, what's happening? Do you want to have sex?" Oh, yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you very much indeed. Do you want to be my boyfriend or girlfriend? Oh, no. I mean, yeah, ultimately, I think you're great. And, we could do in the future. But no, not right now. I think that's a bit like, oh, I can't do it right now. I mean, also, there are myriad reasons why this person might be... I don't understand. There's myriad reasons why this person... They might like you. They might want to fuck you. They might, be busy to the extent that it's difficult for them to text back. They might, it's not a fair way for you to be treated. So just don't put up with it. It doesn't mean that you have to give it a special name, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I'm not having a go at anybody who is being breadcrumbed or whatever the other term is. Obviously, I'm sorry, and it's not great, but it just they're a dick, and just say goodbye, because it doesn't work for you. Obviously, that's why you've created this language system around it. Breadcrumbing. I mean, that's what I've been ghosted several times by women, and when that happened, I kind of went, oh, well, they must not like me then. Well, that seems like quite a direct... It's obviously not a... It's quite an obvious way of letting me know. I'm texting you, you're not texting back. Well, then you don't like me, so that's it. I don't understand what the mystique about that is. They did want to sleep with me. They didn't want to see me again. And that was communicated to me via the medium of not texting me back. Obviously, dynamically, might be slightly different with the power dynamics involved in sex with men and women if it happens the other way around. But I can't really think of too many reasons why that might be. I mean, I suppose, if you agree that broadly across gender, sex means something different to men than it does to women, then I suppose you could argue that ghosting is worse when men do it than women, but only if you agree with that initial premise. And I'm not sure if you really would or you do. I don't know if I do. The arena of gender politics seems so incredibly messy and difficult to work out that you... and there's many examples of a different, of men and women requiring different treatment, but then at the same time of being anti the sort of generalizations that get made that mean that sort of treatment takes place. I'm not trying to be a dick, I was sort of trying to be funny about Ryan Patrick from boyfriendblueprint.com. I probably would have done something like that when I was younger. I guess I would have, but I don't think I would actually. I'm saying that because I want to seem magnanimous and want to seem like, actually I can be really honest about my misgivings. But my misgivings are different to that. The breadcrumbing sounds like a lot of hassle, and I never would have done that. I would have much preferred just to, I've ghosted in the past. I've never breadcrumbed though. Just because I don't want to have to... I would never manipulate anybody. I might just not text back, and I might think, oh, I'll get a text, and I'll go, oh, I must respond to the text, and then a few days passes, and I go, oh God, it's been far too long since I received that text for me to now respond to it. My life's a nightmare. Everything's awful. I can't bear it, and then I just never speak to anybody ever again. I mean, but that's how I work in friendships as well. I'm just a very bad texter back. And I don't really mean anything by it. I just am. Because I want to get it right, I think. Because I want to get my texts right. So that actually feeds into another thing that I was asked about. Sending kisses via text to your drug dealer. Now, I've never had a drug dealer. I'd love one, by the way. So if you're a drug dealer, then do get in touch. I'd like some very mild marijuana. I'm joking, but seriously. Your drug dealer, and you're texting. You're texting your drug dealer with kiss kiss. By mistake. Oh, thank you. I'll have, some drugs, please. Kiss, kiss. I don't really understand that why that would be a huge problem. I mean, my revelation recently is I sometimes send kisses and I sometimes don't, and it doesn't really make any sense who I do or do not send them to. But it's better, I'm trying to get into the brain, I'm trying to get into the brain space where I don't worry too much how I come across via text, just so the text comes back. So if I can get a text back, that's more important than it being a really brilliant text. And I think people broadly prefer that. But given that I've never had a drug dealer, I couldn't tell you what would go through my head if that was the case for me. One of the other bizarre things I got asked to speak about, anti-natalism. I suppose I didn't really know what that was. I kind of put it together, but I hadn't really pieced the adjoined words together before. I suppose the neonatal unit is the new child unit, so the anti-natalism would be the idea that having children is wrong. Which, I mean, you know, it's a school of philosophical thought. There are two types of it, one of which is local antinatalism, which is the suggestion that, you know, there are situations in which having kids is wrong, which I don't want to confuse these things, but I suppose that would be, you know, that would be, in a sense, would abortion cover that? I mean, that's like... No. I don't think it would, actually, because I think the local antinatalism would be more accurately described as the idea that there are just some situations or some people or some... there are just some circumstances into which children shouldn't be born, and that it is immoral to bring a child into a certain situation. Now, you can make that choice for yourself, but that's not the same thing. That's not... A woman's right to choose is not that. They make the decision that they don't want to. That's the woman's right. But the idea of antinatalism being intertwined with that, I think, as I say, I think that's wrong. I think antinatalism would be more... children born into poverty, children born in certain parts of the world. It's immoral for those children to be born because they are not going to have good lives. So how can you justify their existence? And I sort of think, like, well, how can you know? First of all, who are you to value somebody else's life, or how they would measure or value their own existence? It's for them to value. It's not for you to value. So I'm not sure that you could... I mean, even if you look in kind of impoverished parts of Africa, what they want to do is they want to stay alive. They don't want to die. You could argue, I suppose, that is an inbuilt human sort of mechanism, the desire to stay alive. But actually, not existing would be beneficial to them, even if they don't know that themselves. I just don't... This circumstance argument, like, some of the most important people come from these areas to... Social progress, and the whole idea of social progress is predicated on the idea that people come from different places and we learn from people who have experienced other things, and people's experience of other things informs the way that we experience the world. Of course, I can't feel a way about everything because I've only ever had my life, so I only never know what it's like to have felt mine. But the communicated experiences and teachings of other people from other places and other, you know, just other people, like, you know, from the fucking same place. Everybody's different. It inform the way that I live my life, which I suppose, so you just can't fucking know. And you can't, it's not for you to legislate the idea that some people from some communities shouldn't exist, because you just, pardon me, there's just no way of you, there's no way for you to know what the fuck's going on in their life, or how they would value their own existence. So I'm not buying local antinatalism. Global antinatalism would just say that generally, given the greater quantity of pain and suffering in the world, that non-existence is just a universally preferable phenomenon, and the idea that existence is it includes death. No matter how well it goes, it includes it. And to put people through an existence in which they must perish is a kind of cruelty in a sense. So they would argue that it would just be better if none of us had any more children and we just ceased to exist. I mean, I suppose one argument there, just on a logistical standpoint, is if none of us had any more children, we all just sort of slowly died out one by one and the world stopped. The final few years of all of our lives would be really, really shit. There would be no one coming through to look after us as we became decrepit, old, demented. I mean, that's why I'm having so many children, because there's somebody to wipe my bum in a few years' time. Julio Cabrera talks about the philosophical question, or has suggested that the great philosophical question should not be how should we live, but should we live? I just don't really, I just don't really see the point in investigating that. I mean, unless Julio Cabrera has killed himself, I don't know, it's probably quite a naive thing to say. Like, how could we possibly trust anything he says if he hasn't already killed himself? But he goes, well, I do want to be alive. It's just I'm wrong. I'm part of the delusion as well. I'm just trying to think outside of the delusion, I suppose, is what Julio Cabrera would say. I would always choose to live, and I think the idea of a global antinatalism would be predicated on the idea that they have quantifiably researched that there is more pain than there is love. I mean, also, all of this is thought, all of this is conscious, and all of this is part of a world in which we're trying to fathom our own existence. We are a way, as Carl Sagan says, for the universe to know itself. I mean, I think that there's some beauty in that. I think that there's something quite gorgeous about the fact that we are billion-year-old carbon and space stuff that is floating around the universe, and we are the particles that know that we are particles, and we can we can try and understand the surroundings. The universe is alive in a conscious sense through us. That's magical. I mean, also, all of philosophy only exists because we tacitly agreed that living was something worth doing and that life was something that we wanted to understand. So the whole idea of antinatalism is still predicated in a world where we're trying to understand things better. So the fact that they've gone to the trouble of creating a movement called antinatalism through which we might become enlightened to a certain point of view, it still buys in to the love of knowledge, the love of understanding, the love of furthering one's own quest to understand what the right thing to do is. So it doesn't really feel like they really mean it. Because if they really meant it, wouldn't they just be drinking like iron brew and eating Maltesers and watching like Friends? If I was a nihilist, I'd either do that until I was dead or just kill myself immediately. They've engaged in the debate. But if you truly believed that, then I don't really think you would have done. So I think there is there is my central flaw in anti-natalism. Okay. I'm celebrity teeth whiteness is something I've been asked about. I don't whiten my teeth. I'd love to whiten my teeth, but I don't whiten my teeth. I do think it gets to a point now where people whiten their teeth to the extent that they look completely absurd, and they have these. I don't understand why people want teeth that look like they're not teeth, that look like those. Do you remember when, like, you would watch an old cartoon from the 90s, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or like an old Spider-Man cartoon, and people would smile, and instead of it being like, instead of you being able to see individual teeth, you would just see sort of a row of arced white as a sort of representation of teeth in the mouth of Cyclops, Wolverine, Colossus, Peter Parker, Mary Jane, Lex Luthor, whatever. And they look like that. But I don't really understand. I've never found it attractive, and I don't know who does find it attractive. And I think it's really sad. I mean, not the white teeth thing. Obviously, that's fine. If you want white teeth, then go to have white teeth. It's not something that I'll particularly enjoy in your face, but that's not what's important. What's important is that you do. But I bumped into these girls the other night. We were having a drink out in Soho after the show. And these girls came up to us and went, "Oh, are you fun?" And I looked at them and went, "Oh, no, we're not. No, we're tired. We don't want you around here." Not saying. I mean, I said, "No, we're not fun," and then the rest was communicated in my demeanour. And they looked like sisters. I mean, twins, really, identical twins. They had the same cheekbones, the same nose, the same colour skin, which is not the colour of a human being's skin, I should add. It's not a race that you can't buy. You can buy that shade and become it at your will, unless I suppose you're already a darker shade than that. But it's okay to hate people with that colour skin because they've chosen it. It's the time that it's a choice. It's not okay to hate anybody, but well, I mean, that's a conversation for another time. Is hate okay? Is hatred useful? When is hatred useful? That's another thing you can write in and tell me what you think if you have any strong opinions on that. But for me, I find celebrity teeth a bit off-putting, but nowhere near as off-putting as I find these people who want to. I mean, a bit of work, like you want to have a boob job or you want to have, lower eyelid surgery. That's what I'd get. Of the available surgeries, I'd have lower eyelid surgery. Of course, if I could correct anything, I would have bigger hands and probably be an inch or two taller. And those would be the things that I would change about me. But in terms of what you can actually, what's available on the market, and I wouldn't actually get the leg lengthening surgery because that sounds fucking disgusting. I'd get that, and that would sort of be fine, I think. I probably wouldn't actually, but if I was going to, that's what I would get. And I would still look like me, and my identity and the face of Alfie that you see. I mean, I could just stop eating so much awful food and drinking so much booze and, eating so many things that inflame my nervous system and mean that I get all this dry skin in these eye bags. But, I'm burning the candle at both ends and it's burning a bright light, okay? So give me a break, okay? I'm just I can't stand the fact that everybody thinks that this same nose or this same face, that they are sort of on a journey towards some idealized version of a face, that difference shouldn't be celebrated, or I suppose like a different shaped nose or lips. I mean, the lower eyelid surgery thing, that's a symptom of my bad health. So if I could have somebody disguise that, that'd be good. But at the same time, you should just be healthier, I guess. But again, if you want to do a thing that, broadly speaking, keeps in effect the function and personality of your own face, and you manage to maintain your identity, that's what was sad about these girls, is that whoever they looked like before, they no longer look like. Their identity was gone. It was whoever they looked like, they no longer look like, and it's sad. I'm not having a go at them. It's just really sad. And then one of them said to my mate Vaz, "Oh, you come into my club, Platinum Lace, don't you?" And then Vaz said, "No, that's just must be another Arab. It's not me. It's another Arab." And then she went, "Oh, I'm only joking. And then they scurried away. It was gorgeous, actually. It was really good and funny. There's celebrity teeth whiteness and my sort of extrapolation from that. Has having kids added to your creativity or taken from it? It's made me much more intelligent. And I don't mean in any way that you can really quantify, but there's a sort of, and I'm also not saying that nobody who's had kids is dumb. It's enlivened my mind, and I think given a perspective about the world, and also kind of quite a crushing sense of you're not able to delude yourself about life in quite the same way, I think, when you have children. And you're not able to, it's a sense of kidding yourself that you can maintain that you're a child, that you haven't grown up, and not that everybody does maintain it, but I maintained it. I'm still trying to maintain it. I really wanted to maintain this adolescence that I think a lot of millennials carry through their adolescence into their early 30s, sometimes. A symptom of our generation of renting, of still of a difficulty to move on in the world in the same way that our parents did. Children are expensive. I'm very lucky that I've had them. They've creatively, increased my sense of things. But this is all kind of quite fluffy and unquantifiable. But you have to trust me that I feel more engaged with the experience of what it is to be human. And that's a valuable thing. And I have friends who go, "Oh, have you read the long read on the IRA?" No, I haven't read that. No. Oh, do you know that, if we actually cut sales expenditure on arms by X amount, we could do this with... No, I don't know that. No, I don't. What is intelligence? No, I do not know that. Do you know what it's like to die and still be alive? I do. And that's a more synaptically invigorating experience than knowing whatever factoid it is you learnt in The Economist about the economy or whatever. It isn't. Everything's equal. Everything's not everything's equal, but everything's valid. So it has completely enhanced what it means for me to be creative, definitely. But at the same time, it's a nightmare because I had the beginning of this podcast interrupted by my child crying, and I had to go make a bottle, and I felt tense, and I didn't know what the Also, I didn't know, I felt like a dick because I didn't know whether to go downstairs or stay up here because I'd been told to stay up here, but it sounded like it was a problem. Now I've got to edit that bit in, and I'm not very good at editing, so the whole thing's just a bit of a problem. But until I've got my own podcast studio, this is going to be the way it is. This is where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, and all the people who are else. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you've enjoyed it, let me know. If you haven't, let me know, but let me know privately. Don't comment publicly that you don't like it. I hate that. But you can do whatever you want, of course. If you've not enjoyed it, you're not still listening, obviously. If you're still listening, you've definitely enjoyed it. There's just, or what are you doing? But either way, thank you so much for listening. I'm out at Alfie Brown Comedian. Subscribe and like the video on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. Thank you very much. If not, leave a positive review on the iTunes or recommend it to somebody else who might be up for subscribing to the podcast themselves. You know, just if you want to help me out, help me out. If you came to the Soho shows, the Soho Theatre shows, thank you so much. I wasn't expecting it to go that well. It's been one of the best weeks I've ever had doing stand-up comedy, and I'm really grateful to everybody who came and who likes what I do, because of course that's why you do it, isn't it? All right, shut the fuck up. Thanks very much indeed, everybody. This has been the Alfie Brown Show. Have great weeks. Have great weeks.